Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Robb and we're on location in Kelowna with Luke, one third of Pharm, a extremely talented progressive band from Kelowna. How you doing?
Doing well. How you doing, buddy?
Good, thanks for having me. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know who you are and where you're from, how you started music.
Yeah, I'm Luke. As you mentioned, from Pharm. I do the bass and the vocals, sometimes the keyboards.
Oh, sweet.
Just professionally ripping off Geddy Lee at every turn I can. From Regina, Saskatchewan, so it's kind of nice to live here in Kelowna, see some mountains and elevation. Got started when I was a little gaffer on the piano and moved to guitar. Then I started listening to Primus and couldn't stop thinking about bass riffs in my head all day. And here we are now.
That's awesome. How long have you been a musician for?
Oh, yeah, good 25 years now. Started when I was a little guy on the piano, so I still do a bit of that.
You were in a band prior to Pharm, locally, right?
Yeah,
What was the band name again?
it's called Marcy's Beach. And we put out a little bit of music, but mostly you'd see us down at the cover bars playing horrible songs. And every time I hear one of those songs on the radio, I kind of wince and cringe a little bit. I think, good Lord, I hope nobody remembers that.
That's fine. So as Pharm has become, and I would say one of Kelowna's top bands, as your guys' sound is completely different than anybody else's locally that I find. So being the vocals and the bass, and I would say the driving force rhythmically behind the band, besides drums, how do you approach writing?
Usually it starts with kind of either like a bass riff that I'll just kind of sit there and play all day. Or maybe we got like a cool drum beat and I'm just like struggling to put something over top because the timing's all wacky and crazy. But I like to do like weird timings, but make it not sound so crazy or not too nerdy. So it's all these things fighting against each other, and we always do the lyrics last because I gotta like read a whole book and kind of condense it, do some sci-fi nerdy stuff.
It's hard to find good bands that can play prog, and I think that you guys have captured such a unique element with it, and I think that it shows in the turnouts. I couldn't make it to the last show, but Norm and Josh, I'm pretty sure, showed up to the last one, and Norm went so hard he broke the soles in his shoes. And the thing is, like, he's trying to describe the energy because it's not like you guys are heavy, but it's not like the typical metal show. The sound that you bring is so unique and diverse that I think it's more captivating than the band who's got the craziest breakdown. When like your influences come from Geddy Lee, so Rush is a huge, obviously a huge influence. When you're creating your songs, like what is the most typical direction that you go when you're sitting there? Do you usually start off with the chorus, or do you work, like you mentioned you had the riff? How do you choose that that's the chorus or the verse, like in your mind?
Usually kind of like start at the start and just do it linearly. And like it being prog, it's super nerdy already, but I take it one level even nerdier. And these days, I actually like make a spreadsheet and I got like 0 to 10 seconds, 10 to 20, and I start to color code the song just so it's not too samey and like make sure there's enough different parts. So usually kind of start to end, but it's like, oh, there's not enough of this red chunk here in my spreadsheet. It's not going to work well with the audience, our built-in audience. So like I'm an engineer by trade, so I'm always doing that nerdy stuff, and all day at work I'm doing spreadsheets. So it's like, well, let's make this more fun.
So you take it in a very logical, scientific approach as a musician.
Yeah, sorta, yeah.
I like that. It is very math oriented, and I think prog is. I think that's might be why you gravitate toward it because great with numbers,
Yeah,
and that's what it is. It's such a math game.
could be, but even like some of the stuff I listen to, it's like nobody else wants to hear it. It's like the mathiest and the nerdiest of it all. I'll be on the car and somebody's going to tell me to turn it right away. So I try to kind of add some of that little flavor that a regular, not nerdy person could enjoy.
I love the amount of nerdiness that comes with prog. When you take your idea to the band, do you often find that the vision you had changes?
Definitely, yeah. We all write together, so I might have like a few parts, and then it's gonna go somewhere crazy like you never expect it to. It's get like a weird drum fill, or like even exchanging the ideas back and forth with the guitar. It's he'll interpret it a different way, and then it's like, oh, that's nicer than what I thought, and it just becomes this kind of cosmic soup by the end of it.
I like that, because you find, this is a question that I tend to ask bands constantly, is there's a unique spiritual connection, a telepathical connection that bands have with each other, especially when it comes to like bands who jam a lot and have a lot of instrumental aspects, where you can close your eyes and nobody's doing that visual cues. It's all just telepathical cues. And trying to like express that to people who don't play music is very like expressing a religion that is brand new, you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the most magical aspects of music that I really enjoy, and I find a lot of bands have, and we don't kind of like talk about it. It's just a really weird thing that is musician.
Yeah.
It doesn't have, like, actors don't have that, painters don't have that. It is strictly just people who play music.
Or you come up with like a new vocabulary, you gotta do like a, and it's like, yep, that makes sense to somebody else. Maybe two other people understand exactly what you're saying, but
Yeah, musician talk.
8 billion other people saying, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, that is probably one of my favorite things. Is I want to play boogie the bomb bomb bomb. I know exactly what you mean. When you so are you the manager as well behind everything?
Sorta. We got a few buds out in the city here who do kind of management type stuff. We got like a numbers guy and a grants guy and kind of a filming guy, and so it's like a little community. There's 3 of us who will be on the album title, but everybody helps out. I do kind of like the spreadsheets. I'm adding up all the bills and all that fun stuff. So that's actually why I'm in the band. That's my favorite part.
The management
The music comes second, but just the accounting and the treasurer position is what I really like to do.
It's funny because that's what I do for Storm the Empire, and at first it was kind of a job, and the more that I got into it, and the more I saw the results, and when we put in the effort, what we got back, really became rewarding, and now it's become a game to see how much I can save for the band, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and how far we can go. Because when you look at it as a business, it's like when you're getting grants, grants are intimidating, first of all, and most people are very scared to even, they see the first half of it, and that's like just what's accepted and what's ineligible, what's eligible, and how much like the amounts are, and people get intimidated. To have somebody helping you with grants is a huge benefit, especially when it comes to touring, and you guys tend to tour quite a bit.
We do, yeah.
Was it last year that you did Whackin'?
Yeah, 2023.
Okay, so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And you guys went quite far on that.
Yeah, we got to the Western Canadian finals, where a BC band has never got past.
No, I know. Which is that's
this year it's in
right?
Vancouver though, so
yeah,
super fun though.
How was that experience?
Really good. We played in Vancouver and we came first in that, and it was pretty great experience. Weird though, being normally you play a show and it's all your buds, but here you've got judges and stuff, so there's this whole element where it's like these guys are your friends, but it's like, oh, I gotta beat you. But so that's like a whole new element that was pretty unusual, but good exposure, and especially for us, 'cause we don't always like fit in. It's like there's like, here's a metal band, here's a metal band, and then there's this weird band. It's like, sometimes it's jazzy, and we got like bright flamingo shirts on, and we don't really look the part, so it was nice to get recognized like that.
What are you currently working on?
We're gonna do a whole new album in April, so that came up really quick. We wrote the songs over the last winter, and do another big cycle. Like, we went to Quebec and back with the first album, so hopefully this time we can get to PEI and back.
See, like right there, how was touring to Quebec? What were the challenges? What have you found the biggest challenges been with touring?
It was great. I mean, I would say it's good to know people along the way, like, which we did. We had great places to stay. Everybody was super nice, and then we hit Southern Ontario, which I don't want to slag any regions of the country. Everybody was very nice, but we didn't know anybody there, so we wound up sleeping in a farty van in truck stops for about a week straight. So had to hit the chiropractor pretty hard when we came back, but it was nice to see some friendly faces when we returned, and I would definitely do it again. You know, you plant the little seeds along the way. That was pretty cool.
Did you guys have a grant for the tour? Or
No,
was
we
it
never
self-funded?
have ever won a grant.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know, people kind of see, it just doesn't make sense what we do on paper, and even like radios, like no organizations really like us, but you go to like a club or whatever, you talk to somebody who's like, oh, that's the best, and then nobody else wants to touch it really, so we kind of, it's like, well, we'll do it ourselves, do everything ourselves.
So how do you go about self-funding a tour across Canada? That's a huge feat.
Yeah, well, just sometimes you got to eat food out of dumpsters, and I don't condone siphoning gas. I'm not admitting to have doing that. I'm just saying I don't condone it. And you do what you do. You rely on friends along the way, and hopefully every now and then you get a good turnout that'll get you some gas money to the next city. And yeah, a little saving here and there.
Do you find that getting guarantees is a hard thing with the style that you play?
It's about 50-50. Like, I know some venues are hesitant to give us a guarantee, but some kind of insisted, and it's like, well, I don't know. Like, are you sure you'll be able to cover this? And they're like, yeah, probably. And they've never heard us before or don't know who we are. So it's like, okay. And sometimes you luck out, and the person you talked to and got the guarantee from wasn't there that night, and you're still selling tickets, and you get a little extra bonus.
The joys of being a touring band, right? What has been your top 3 favorite cities in Canada to perform at?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I really enjoyed Regina. It was my hometown, and not really through any merit of our own, but we just got placed as a headliner by accident on a festival that was happening there. So we got to play at the bar I used to go to when I was growing up there, and it was just packed because it was the end of this festival by accident.
That's awesome.
Had a lot of fun in Quebec. If you get out to rural Quebec, don't lump them in with the rest of Canada. That was where we turned around, was in Rimouski, and I said, thank you, this is far we're going in Canada. Everybody's been so nice. And I got booed. And I didn't understand why, but it's because I didn't pay enough attention in history class, and there's a bit of a separatist movement. You know, half people were cheering and half were booing, so that was almost exactly how that election went. So you learn things along the way, so pay attention in history, everybody.
Things you don't even think about,
yeah.
Right?
Toronto was very fun. We got accidentally lumped in with the Canadian Music Week, I believe it's called. I should know that. That's why we don't get grants, because I don't know about huge festivals that are well established. But we got added to the folk night because they saw our name. So it was like Lou Gunderson and the Turnips and Guff Brookings and the Good Old Boys, and they saw Pharm and assumed we were folk rock band. So there we were, 2 a.m, and everybody's heard enough mandolin for about a week or two, and then all of a sudden we go, ah! And then the whole place went nuts. So that was super fun as well.
Oh man, that is awesome. What's been the I love tour stories, so I want to dive into those. What was the craziest experience that happened on tour?
Well, we wound up, I don't know, lots of good ones, but when we played in Thunder Bay, we played at like a electronic music club, so it was like nobody knew what to expect, and the opening band, they had like accordions and stuff, so they did a good job like matching kind of weirdness up when it's not usually their forte. But so we're playing, they got crazy sound systems, which was awesome, and then they invited us, they had an after party when we're done playing at the nightclub, and I was like, okay, what are we walking into? There's like a nice fella's house. He's like restores harpsichords. Well, we're getting treated to some Mozart and Bach, and it's like, oh, this is not what I expected. And he's like, hey, you guys want to come into the sauna? So you got very relaxing, you know. Who would have expected a nice sauna and harpsichord treat after the electronic music club?
Wow, that's you just get like the classiest of classy after parties. That's awesome. Usually they're like the dingiest little apartments and everyone's crammed into them.
Oh, I left my monocle back at home. I didn't have enough room. My top hat was completely crushed by that point in the tour after loading and unloading the van the whole time.
That's funny. So when you approach the business aspect of it, what has been the hardest thing for you to figure out?
Probably, like I said, like the grants, I think. Like we find success everywhere else, but never, we just apply for grants and never get them. So it's like, I just don't even want to do this anymore. Just keep doing it ourselves.
How do you guys find your turnouts are with the way that you promote shows? Because I feel like they're pretty good.
It's, yeah, and you kind of learn over time. Like I've found, if you're going somewhere you've never been before, like I'll slap, 50, $60 on advertisements online, and it's like, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. But even, you get 5 more people there, you've made your money back, and then there's 5 more people watching your show.
That's a good way to look at it.
Also, I like to do kind of crazy stunts before some of our shows sometimes, and hopefully that gets people talking.
Like what? Give us an example.
Some of them I probably shouldn't say. You could look them up. Often they involve fireworks. I one time ate a firework that was inside of a burrito.
The hardest thing is getting the numbers and the people to see you. And I think in a time where the musicians just have to figure out that loophole through trendiness, if that makes sense.
Which is tough.
It is.
Yeah. Especially, we're just like 3 real ugly guys, so you got to play some good music.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, that's all it used to matter about was the music. And then it changes. It changes also as you grow older. The way you look at music, the way you play your music. Have you found, this is kind of a segue, but have you found the older you've got, what you're writing becomes more intricate and less like angsty?
I'd say so, yeah. The new stuff we're doing, I'm playing it live. It's like, oh man, I actually have to warm up and practice, and I'll go to the old stuff. It's like a breeze, but some people are like, how do you do that? It's like, it's easy now. But now it's like, okay, got to do the scales, and I think kind of as you age, maybe some of your emotions sort of soften a little bit. It's like, I don't hate my parents anymore. Yeah. It's more like, how do I make a song sound cool and heavy about like a real great, comfortable pair of shoes? Just whatever I'm feeling really strongly about at the time.
That's true. I think that too, like, writing is a really hard thing now when everything's been done. That's where prog shines, because it hasn't all been done. Versus like a singer-songwriter, you can only play so many chords for so long before you have to expand out. And same with metal, you can only play so many open chugs before people get really bored of it and move on to the next thing. I feel that prog is just a little ahead of its time. I feel like in the next like 10 years, that's what music is going to gravitate towards more. Like the emergence of EDM, which is basically prog music, just not with musicians. It kind of expanded people's mind to what they'll enjoy melody-wise. Because there's a lot of EDM that's crazy melodies, and it changes up quite a bit, and people tend to follow towards that. When you first started as a musician, what was your biggest inspiration? Like, who was the one that made you want to be a musician?
I was playing guitar and I was just like a little guy, so I was into like horrible kind of, at the time, as was the fashion at the time, it was the pop punk music. And oh man, what was I thinking when I look back now? Then I heard AC/DC when I was a little guy, and that was kind of the gateway drug. It's like, oh man, this rocks so hard, and it just opened up like a rabbit hole into, you know, you get into your Led Zeppelins and your Pink Floyds, all those classics, and then it just kind of get like weirder and heavier. And so I think AC/DC was the first real one that I can look back at today and not want to beat up a younger version of myself.
That's funny. I think that's like everyone's gateway. Zeppelin and
Yeah.
AC/DC and
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
It was weird. I went from Guns N' Roses and Led Zeppelin, and then my cousin showed me Children of Bodom.
Oh, yeah.
And instantly I was like, I want this.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your biggest challenge as a musician?
I guess just practicing enough. Like, I think anybody who plays probably wishes they practiced more. And some people, I was talking to actually Rob there, and he said, you must practice all the time. It's like, maybe once a month. And it's just like, anytime I do, something great can come out of it. But it's like, well, I like to sit around and eat chips too. So I think just not practicing enough.
I think that is a very common thing between musicians, is especially when you're not just a bedroom guitar player. Like when you're a bedroom guitar player, you're constantly sitting there and doing that. But like when you grow up, you've got jobs, you've got hobbies, you've got spouses and kids, and it's really difficult to separate time and energy for music, especially practice. Like practicing, you don't want to play the same song 1,000 times over and over and over and over. So you don't want to play it. Like if you've played the same song live for 3 years, you don't need to practice it anymore.
Yeah, you get out the metronome and the tablature and the cup of tea. It's a lot of preparation.
I'm very guilty of never touching my instrument in between shows. Unless I'm like, oh, I have an idea I want to write. And then I'm really bad at like writing the idea, recording it, and never touching it again. How many unfinished songs do you have?
Oh, there's about like 500 recordings in my cell phone right now, so it's usually just like one riff, and it's like, oh, I'll bring that to the fellas, but you never go back and look. It's like whatever's the newest thing. Yeah. One day I'll make a 500 part song.
When are you guys heading back out on the road?
We'll be out in May going west. So we hit Vancouver Island, kind of Nanaimo, Port Alberni. Hornby Island's always a fun one. Sunshine Coast. So it's just super fun going out there. A lot of people don't want to take 3 ferries and get to Hornby Island to play. So you get there and everyone's like, I'm in, you know, it's Tuesday night. You get everybody out in the whole island there. They don't care what time it is, and it's a good time.
Cool. I've never actually heard about anybody taking up to Hornby Island. Like
It's
the island's
really fun.
intimidating as it
It's
is.
fun. We took 9 ferries, did a similar thing with our friends Rad Dog, who we're going back out on the road with again. So by the all was said and done, 9 ferries, and it's great. Yeah, they don't get a whole lot of stuff all the time, so.
The ferry there itself has become so expensive that Victoria is like, pardon me, the island's really intimidating almost to play at, to try and get there.
It's fun. It's like we show up to everything late all the time. Just kind of how it seems to work, herding all the cats and getting them into one spot. But everybody on the island's so chill and relaxed, and they don't care about what time it is either. So we all turn up at the same time, 2 hours after it said door was supposed to start, and we make it work. The people want to go have a good time when they go out. So.
And that's kind of the thing is like, you guys have a good time on all elements of your writing. When you're writing, you're enjoying yourself. When you're lyrics, you're enjoying yourself, recording, performing. I think that kind of shines more than like the bands who are so focused on their instrument and they're just like,
Yeah.
like for me, it's you're performers. You're supposed to perform.
Yeah.
Right? You're entertainers and you're musicians. So like what you do is art.
Yeah.
On any form.
Sometimes like after a show, it's like, wow, I made a lot of mistakes, but nobody's talking about that. It's like, well, did you have a good time? Yeah.
Especially when it comes to recording. Like I was talking with Steve Jones, and he's been performing since the 90s. Like he was performing when I was 1. And we were talking about perfection in music and how like all the greatest songs in the world, like Let It Be from the Beatles, it has a mess up in it. There's a huge mess up in it on the piano, and it doesn't matter. Or like Hotel California, there's parts of the guitar that are not, they're off. And like other songs that have these little tiny flaws that realistically is what makes the song magical.
Yeah, it's just written by humans.
Exactly, right? Like, I think with it, like this huge anti-push of like everyone complaining about AI nowadays, like making your music so structured kind of ruins it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Especially like, I do enjoy writing to a click. I won't say I don't, but at the same time, I miss the days of just picking up an instrument and playing with my friends, and it's just playing. It's not like worrying about any like the political aspects or like, is this good enough for people? Just kind of like, what you fell in love with music, which is writing music with friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the older I get becomes more important than like performing every weekend. It's like,
Oh yeah.
like
just seeing the buds and catching up and making a lot of noise.
do you find it difficult to balance, like, we're kind of talking about it earlier, but like how much you want to be on the road?
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun to do it. It's just like you got to make sure it's worthwhile sometimes. Like, you can tell, especially after doing it for a bit, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to drive 10 hours and play in front of 13 people. It's like, going to stay home that weekend and do some gardening or, practice if I'm lucky. So it's just kind of gauging if it's worthwhile. And
how do you make that decision? At the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I guess it's like if you got to go into new places, but like along the way, you can go to places that you've been before and it'll be great. So even if it's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you enjoyed the journey there and it's still worthwhile.
Have you ever had a point, maybe on tour, because I find that that's when like the most clashing happens with bands, where you were just like, this is not what I want.
Not really. Like, I've always enjoyed it, but maybe, a month into a tour, it's like, ooh, I sure would enjoy sleeping in my own bed and seeing some of the comforts of home.
Yeah. With Pharm, you guys have a very unique brotherhood, and you can see it when you're on stage.
Yeah, we've done a lot of crazy stuff, so it's can't go anywhere really, or we got so much dirt on each other that everyone's stuck in there forever now.
It's just a locked in dark brotherhood. That's funny. With your guys' next album coming out, do you plan to go back all the way across Canada?
Could happen, yeah. We're getting well, every Instagram post we make, there's one guy, come to Toronto, so we gotta appease that one guy. And I've been dying to try one of them red potatoes on the Isle of Prince Edward Island. So
I think that'd be a fun one. You never hear anybody touring all the way that way. You have these like Montreal and like Quebec is like the furthest you go. So I would love to see what the shows would be like out there.
Yeah.
So that is like a very unique thing. Traveling that way though, that's a lot of driving.
Lot of driving. One guy in Toronto said he could, and he was fairly inebriated at the time, but he owned the bar. He said he could get some grant money from the film industry and use that as an excuse to fly us in. So that would be a big time saver.
Yeah, because I guess you could film technically pay you guys because you're in the film. Yeah, I could see that
Perhaps we got some good friends in Quebec, Sons of Arrakis. They're awesome. But we're going to fly them down to BC and they can just borrow all our stuff and then maybe they'll do the same. We'll go down there. And
it's kind of what you have to do.
Your flight's quite a drive.
If you had any advice for upcoming musicians who might see this, that are trying to start themselves in the industry, because the number one question I get asked is how do you go from jam band to standing on stage and being successful at it? What advice would you give to younger musicians?
Ooh, well, just practice a lot until you get to that point, and reach out locally and get all your friends to come out, and they'll tell their friends, and can really grow like quite organically if you do it that way. You don't try to force anything, but keep making those incremental steps and make sure you're prepared and practice. I think that would do it.
Awesome. I want to thank you for doing this. I really appreciate your input and getting to know you as a person.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And
it was fun.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Toodaloo.